I've been riding Maxxis tires well before I was sponsored by them. I can remember bikes, you know, from when I was 13, 14. I have this photo of me on a Fly Bikes frame, and my kit back then was just Holy Rollers front and back. I just love the dirt tires on the front and the back. And that photo always really stands out in my head. One of my first photos in a magazine was in the bio section, which was in the back pages of Ride BMX. And at the time I rode for Fly Bikes. I didn't ride for Maxxis then, but I had Holy Rollers front and back. And it's this photo in my friend Will's backyard. I'm doing an unturned down over street spine. And that was really cool for me because that was a huge milestone in riding for me. You know, I feel like it was a big dream of mine to have a photo on Ride BMX, and looking back at it now, it's exceptionally cool because I have Maxxis tires on. Ironically enough, the first ad that I ever had in a magazine was a Maxxis ad, and this was like the first ad by a company that I rode for. So it was like a really big deal for me because I remember as a kid, you know, browsing through the magazines and seeing, you know, my favorite pro riders with ads for the companies they rode in. And at the time I was living at Woodward Camp, and Jared Sowney was the local photographer there. And it was too easy. I shot the ad with Jared, and it's like a tail whip air on the outdoor mini ramp, which is big 7-foot tall mini ramp. And it was one of my most favorite ramps at Woodward because it had a coping spine. It really reminded me of the setup back at home at Section 8. So it was really fun shooting that ad with Jared, and then once it, you know, was published, it was just mind-blowing to me. Shortly after signing with Maxxis, I rolled into kind of more mainstream competitions. I entered in the Dew Tour in 2005 and got dead last, and that really motivated me to kind of push myself. And rolling into 2006 and throughout the whole year, I basically won everything. Took home a Dew Cup at the end of the year, took home an X Games medal, and that was really cool for me. And I was really surprised too because at the end of the year, like Maxxis threw in, like, it was basically I think my second ad with them in a magazine, and it was like an ad of myself and Morgan Wade, and they listed our accomplishments and congratulated us, and that was like just a really cool thing to have as well. Growing up, I usually rode Holy Roller tires all around. I just loved the way the dirt tires felt, you know, because I rode a lot of dirt then. And as I started going a little farther in my career, I transitioned into more ramp riding. So I also transitioned to do a different tire combination. So I started riding like the M-Tread and the Miracle tire. I kind of went back and forth between those two, but I still kept the Holy Roller in the front. Once I started riding more ramps and whatnot, eventually they came out with the Grifter tire, and I was able to test some of the first prototypes of that, which was really cool because it's just a weird feeling when a company hits you up and they ask you if you want to test a brand new tire that no one knows about. I started testing some of that stuff and realized, you know, how much more speed you get with all around like smooth tires. And that really transitioned me into riding some more things like vert and mega ramp. And that kind of leads into the first couple years that I rode mega ramp. I took a bronze medal in mega ramp in 2007, and then I believe the next year I did the first ever double front flip. And at that time I had the Grifter tire, which was no longer a prototype, and then I was running the DTH tire in the front, which is kind of like Maxxis's race tire, but it rode really great on dirt and it rode really great on ramps, and it wasn't knobby enough that it slowed you down. It was like a really nice happy medium. And even riding like vert and mega ramp, like there's a lot of guys that would switch their bikes up a bit to I don't know, to maybe help better them and how they rode the mega ramp. But for me, I always kept my bike the same. I always kept my tire combination the same. I never changed my tire setup to ride the ramp any different because my bike felt great riding, whether it was street, dirt, park, vert, mega ramp. Like my tires were set up to ride anything. Shortly after I did the double front flip, ESPN contacted me about being on the cover of their magazine. And you know, it's a real honor to have coverage endemically within BMX, but to have, you know, a cover on ESPN magazine was just mind-blowing to me. And I thought it was like a really cool opportunity as well to kind of rep all my sponsors and show a lot of pride in what I did. Right in the middle of the cover is me doing a 360 invert with DTH and grifter tires, and I just thought that was so cool. And to be able to, you know, start with Maxxis from one point doing just, you know, Maxxis sponsored ads in magazines to me being on the cover of like a non-endemic magazine was really cool. After that, Dreamline was pretty much my next big milestone. Dreamline was a dirt series that I created that was all about the trail riders and, you know, hardcore dirt basically. And the jumps were just massive. They were probably the biggest jumps to date in that point in time. During that time, I was still standing true to the DTH grifter model. And honestly, maybe through all three Dreamlines, I probably had that same tire combination. But it's just another thing that goes to show, like, no matter what I was doing, if I was riding dirt or ramps or mega ramp, like, I didn't have to change my setup all that much. And to ride some of the biggest dirt jumps in the world with that setup, I never felt more in control. Right around 2010, it started to become a trend where BMX riders were kind of going up in tire size, and Maxxis tires kind of followed suit with that. I think they came out with like the 2.1 size for the grifter, and that was the time in my career where I did all around grifter tires at 2.1, and still riding everything. A lot of dirt, mostly dirt, but still vert, mega ramp, park. And I've honestly had the grifter tire setup for at least the last 6 years of riding. I haven't changed it at all. You know, for the last 6 years, the grifter has been my choice of tire. Anyone that asks me about tires, that's the way I send them. I say, buy some grifters. That's the best tire in the world. And it seems like yesterday I was just testing the prototypes. And this year, actually, I got sent a new pair of prototypes for an even bigger tire. And it's a really great tire, and I really can't say much more about it because it's pretty top secret. But I think a lot of you kids out there are going to be really psyched on the new tire when it drops. I don't even think, it's still so new that I don't even think they have a drop date for it yet. But I'm allowed to talk about it a little, I just can't show you. And it's going to be a really great tire. Looking back at when I first started riding bikes, you know, I was always buying Maxxis tires, buying Holy Rollers. I think at one point I had a Max Daddy, which was like the all-time dirt tire. And, you know, thinking about it now, I'm very lucky to be able to grow up with a brand and maybe dream about riding for a brand and then actually riding for them and having them support me through the better portion of my BMX career. So I'm super thankful for that. And, you know, Maxxis has always gone above and beyond. And it's just one of those companies that has been a real positive thing kind of growing up with and maturing through my career. And being able to work with them and test new tires and give input on different things that they want to do for BMX in the sport. And it's just all around like a really great sponsorship. So thanks, Maxxis.